The hook in my vise is an Osprey heavyweight wet, size 10. Start on my thread. And then bring in a length of copper wire to act as a rib. The first complication of this fly is that it calls for the body to be tied around the bend of the hook. So I'm going to move this hook to an angle so that my thread will hang from the bend without rubbing against the jaws of the hook quite so much. Still does, but normally what I would do is tilt the jaws down, because that's going to take it out of frame. I've moved the hook. The body is pheasant tail fibres. It's a slim bunch, it's about half a dozen fibres, just cut from the stem. I need the longest stuff I can get hold of for this, makes the job easier. I tie them in by the tips. I don't trim the tips or anything, but I'm taking the tips up to the thorax area, the fly. Tying them in this way tends to give you a natural taper. The fibres get thicker. And reposition the hook. The fibres are wrapped as a bunch, but I try and wrap them as a flat bunch rather than as a twisted rope. It gives a slimmer body. I want them to be tight, so with each turn I have to bring in my finger of my left hand, or if you're a lefty it'll be the other way around, and that hand keeps the materials tight on the hook. So as I come around, my finger just holds the material there. I can let go with this hand, pick it up again, make a turn, again it's held in place. And I'm wrapping forward to the thread. I'm really wrapping this forward as far as the pheasant that I've got on the hook will let me. I want it to go further than it absolutely has to, if that makes sense. Because I'm going to ride back onto that. The thread's going to come back onto that wrapped body. Just trim away the butts. You'll see that I'm leaving a fairly big clear space here. I don't need all that for the head obviously, but the idea is that the more, if I leave some clear hook shank, I'm going to be able to make a neater, smaller head. Now the wire, I want the wire to come over in the opposite direction to the direction that I wound the fibres, the pheasant tail fibres, and the idea is that the wire is crossing the fibres and protecting them. So if one of them is broken by trout teeth, then the wire will it'll slow it down from unravelling. It won't prevent it unravelling, but it'll slow it down. Tight turns, plenty of them. I'm not too fussed about a bit of thread build up. because I'm going to be dubbing that area. I don't cut the wire, just wind it like a little crank and it'll break. Then a good bit bigger, the bunch of fibres I'm going to use for the thorax cover is a good bit bigger, but maybe double the number of fibres. I tie them so that the tips, these fibres taper, they're thicker at this end than they are at the tips. I tie them so that the tips get folded to the eye. I'll just quickly show you what I mean. And it means when I tie this in, I'm tying in thin material. If I did it the other way around, I'd be tying in thick material. In my head anyway, it makes for a neater, smaller head. It's not necessary, it's just the way I do it. Now, I've got these well secured. I can trim away the butts. It's at this point you need to proportion this fly. If I simply do that, two things are going on. The thorax area, the thorax area that I'm going to make is too small. It's too, it just looks wrong. And from a tying point of view, I can see thread behind there, and it's ugly. But the proportion of this fly actually is a bit unusual. But it means I'm going to ride the thread back up onto that body that I made, and I'm looking for about that. So I've come back on about a third of the overall length of the area is going to be thorax. I use a prepared hair dubbing. This is Hemingway's UV Dubbing Plus. I cut the corner off the packet, pull out a wee tuft. I could use hare's mask, rabbit. I think rabbit was the original, very original. For fishing, I'd really suggest you do some of these with an orange thorax as well. Good fly. I'm drawing the dubbing out into a slim noodle. Slim noodle of dubbing gives me control. If I want a fat body, I make a slim dubbing noodle and go back over the area several times. So started on, I just tighten in the dubbing, dub out the area, and I've successfully left myself with a you'll see here there's a clear portion of hook. Bring the fibres forwards. I'm trying to keep them from crossing up too much. I want them to spread over the top of the hook shank. I like to bring the thread over, then pull the fibres tight and bring the thread over a couple of tight turns. And when I cut, if I leave it like that and cut the fibres, I'll have a little tuft of stubs sticking out over the eye. So come back so you've got a few less turns. Push the fibres a wee bit back from the eye and I put in about 6 turns. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. And those are pushing the fibres back away from the eye. Take the butts up tight, cut close but without cutting the thread obviously. And then I'm now taking out those 6 turns, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when I come forward, make the head, all the butts, all the cut ends of the fibres are disappear under the thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fly is essentially finished. I'm going to varnish the head with, this is Benetti head cement. It's a very thin head cement. It's like Vineyard Solaya. It's very thin, means it doesn't trap any bubbles, so you get a good smooth finish when you build it up. And it's a solvent based cement, so it goes in there and dissolves the waxes from the thread and the oils from my fingers that are on the thread and penetrates right down into the thread. The first coat will just about vanish. You've probably seen it almost vanish now, and subsequent coats will build up on the surface. I'm looking for decent proportions. The rib should be regular enough, and it should certainly be in the opposite spiral to the pheasant tail fibres for security. I want a clear eye and a well-formed head. The proportions that I like, this is about right. This fly was originally tied on some pretty long shank hooks, I think up to about size 6 long shank. You couldn't use these sizes, you would have to change the overall shape, and it had a pretty long thorax. Now, the way I've tied it, this size, it looks, to me anyway, it looks a bit like a buzzer. If you tie this in a long shank 6, it isn't looking like a buzzer, it's looking like an insect perhaps, but it isn't a buzzer. But it's looking buggy, it's looking like something to eat. So it's a suggestive fly more than an imitative fly. The proportion aspect of this is one of the bits that you need a bit of practice to get right. Simple fly, very effective fly. It's been used for decades. It was Arthur Cove came up with this, I think, in the 1960s. Simple materials, an effective fly. Good variations on this if you're going to tie it for fishing. Tie it with an orange thorax, then maybe add some flash as a strip of flash over the back, a flashy shell back, use coloured thread, have a hot spot head. All those things can be added. I don't want to see those for competition. I want the vanilla version, the basic version of the fly for judging for the competition. And that's the Cove Pheasant Tail Nymph.